My best friend stole the life I was building and acted like it was no big deal. I thought 2023 would be my year. After 2 years of working a dead-end job at a local hardware store, I finally landed an opportunity at a marketing agency downtown Brantford company. It wasn't glamorous. I wasn't designing ad campaigns for Nike or anything, but it was my first real adult job. Decent salary, decent benefits, and even a clear path to promotions if I worked hard enough. The best part, I got to move out of my parents' place and into a 2-bedroom apartment with my best friend, Ethan. We'd been inseparable since 8th grade. Sleepovers, road trips, breakups, we'd seen each other through everything. When I told him about the new job, he was genuinely thrilled. Or at least I thought he was. "Man," he said, clapping me on the back when we were celebrating with cheap beers in my parents' backyard. "This is it. You're finally getting out of this place." "We both are." I smiled at the "we" part. Of course, Ethan would be a part of it. He always was. Ethan had been struggling more than me. He dropped out of community college after a semester, said it wasn't for him. Since then, he was doing odd jobs, nothing consistent. A little bartending, a little construction, some Uber driving. He was a classic guy with big plans and next steps that never quite materialized. Still, I loved him like a brother. We spent weeks apartment hunting, ended up finding a small but clean 2-bedroom on the east side of town. Rent was steep, almost $1,900 a month. But with my new job covering $1,200 of it, and Ethan promising to drive Uber and pick up side gigs, we thought we could swing it. We signed the lease, moved in the first weekend of March. The night we moved in, we had no furniture yet, just a couple beanbags and a pizza box between us on the living room floor. "This is just the beginning," Ethan said, raising his can of cheap beer. "Till the future," I replied, clinking my can against his. I genuinely believed it. The first few weeks were rough. The agency threw me into the deep end, fast client meetings, deadlines, late nights. I didn't mind though. It felt good to finally be working towards something real. Meanwhile, Ethan drifted. He didn't sign up for Uber like he said he would. Didn't pick up many shifts at the bar. He slept in late, played a lot of video games, sometimes disappeared for entire days. At first, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Starting over is hard. He just needed time. One night in late March, I got home from work around 9 p.m., exhausted. Ethan was on the couch gaming. "Hey man," I said, dropping my bag. "Did you talk to that guy about the landscaping job?" Ethan barely glanced away from the screen. "Yeah, fell through," he said flatly. I stared at him. "You gonna look for something else?" He shrugged. "Tomorrow." I didn't push it. I hated feeling like a nagging parent, but a part of me was starting to get nervous. I couldn't carry rent for both of us. Not for long. April came and went. I was promoted to junior account manager, got a small raise. Meanwhile, Ethan still hadn't contributed a single dollar to rent. I covered for him, using up most of my savings. Every time I brought it up, he made promises. "I'm working on something. I have a plan. Just give me another week." One Friday night, after a particularly brutal week at work, I snapped. We were sitting in the kitchen. I had a beer. Ethan was scrolling on his phone. "Man, seriously," I said. "You have to start pitching in. I can't keep doing this alone." Ethan set down his phone and leaned back in his chair, looking way too casual. "Relax, dude. It's not like I'm freeloading. I'm just getting set up." "You're literally freeloading," I said, laughing without humor. "You haven't paid a dime." He rolled his eyes. "I said I'd get it figured out. Chill." I stared at him, feeling this weird knot twist in my chest. When had Ethan started acting like I was the problem? Things got worse from there. He stopped coming home some nights. When he was home, he was either gaming or out on the balcony vaping and taking phone calls that he didn't explain. I tried not to pry. I told myself maybe he was finally hustling, maybe he was lining up something big. God, I was so stupid. Because while I was grinding away 60-hour weeks, Ethan was laying the groundwork to rip everything out from under me. I just didn't see it yet. It started small. One night I came home late and found Ethan hosting a full-on party in our apartment. There were strangers everywhere, red solo cups scattered across the floor, loud bass shaking the thin walls. Someone had puked in the bathroom sink. I stood there for a moment, stunned. This wasn't what we agreed on. This wasn't the plan. I found Ethan out on the balcony, laughing with a couple of girls I didn't recognize. When he saw me, he grinned like everything was fine. "Hey, man, didn't think you'd be home this early. Come grab a beer." I clenched my jaw. "Can we talk now?" He waved me off. "Later, bro. It's Friday. Chill out." I didn't chill out. I went to my room, locked the door, and tried to sleep, but the bass kept pounding until 3 in the morning. The next morning, the place was trashed. Beer cans, broken glass, cigarette burns on the carpet. I found a used condom on the bathroom floor. Ethan stumbled out of his room around noon, looking like death. "Dude," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "this isn't a frat house. We have a lease. We have neighbors." He groaned, rubbing his temples. All right, I'll clean up." But he didn't. I spent the entire Saturday scrubbing the apartment alone while Ethan napped. And still I didn't kick him out. Still I made excuses for him. "He's just going through a rough patch," I told myself. "He'll get it together." The second sign was worse. I noticed some of my stuff disappearing. Nothing huge at first, a few shirts, a nice pair of headphones, some cologne. At first, I thought I was just being forgetful, but then I watched the one my grandfather gave me before he passed went missing from my nightstand. I tore my room apart looking for it. I knew I hadn't misplaced it. It was always in the same spot. I asked Ethan casually, not wanting to accuse him outright. "Hey, have you seen my silver watch? The old one?" He shrugged. "Nope. Maybe you left it at work?" I knew I hadn't. Still, I let it go, because the idea that Ethan, my best friend, would steal from me, it was too painful to even imagine. The third sign I couldn't ignore. One Saturday afternoon, I was running errands when I spotted Ethan across the street from a gas station. He was leaning against a sleek black Mustang, talking animatedly to a guy in a fitted suit. I did a double take. Where the hell did that car come from? Ethan barely had money for food, and here he was, looking like he was wheeling and dealing. I crossed the street intending to confront him, but by the time I got there, he and the guy had peeled off. When I asked him about it later, he laughed it off. "Friend of a friend," he said. "I'm thinking about starting a little side hustle. Delivery stuff." Don't worry about it. I did worry about it. And late that night, after he passed out drunk, I snooped through his room. I hated myself for it, but I had to know. I found stacks of business cards, none with Ethan's name, but a bunch with shady titles like personal consultants and exclusive arrangements. I found a wad of cash in a shoebox under his bed, way more than he should have had, and tucked under his mattress, a pawn shop receipt for a silver watch. My watch. That night, sitting alone at the kitchen table, I realized something crystal clear. Ethan wasn't my best friend anymore. Hell, maybe he never really was. He was using me, bleeding me dry while he built his own thing on the side. I should have thrown him out right then. Should have called the cops, but I didn't. I wanted proof, hard proof, before I burned it all down. I wanted him to know that I knew. And more than anything, I wanted him to feel the betrayal I felt. For the next 2 weeks, I played the role of the clueless roommate. I smiled. I laughed at his stupid jokes. I acted like nothing was wrong. Inside, though, I was building a plan. A slow, patient kind of revenge. I started by documenting everything. Every sketchy package that showed up at the door. Every stranger who knocked late at night. Every wad of cash I glimpsed when Ethan thought I wasn't looking. I even bought a cheap nanny cam from Amazon and hid it inside a fake air freshener in the living room. It captured a lot more than I expected. One night, I watched Ethan on my laptop as he accepted a thick envelope from a wiry guy in a hoodie. Cash again. Probably drugs too. At work, I researched tenant laws. Turns out, even if your roommate is a piece of human garbage, you can't just kick them out without going through the proper channels. I needed evidence. Solid evidence. So, I waited. I gathered. I smiled. Meanwhile, Ethan kept getting cockier. He started throwing parties almost every weekend. Different girls every time. He borrowed my clothes without asking, crashed my car once, and blamed me for parking it weird. When I confronted him about it, he just laughed. You're too uptight, man. Relax. We're living the dream. I wanted to punch him, but instead, I made sure to keep everything documented. Photos, videos, ponte, receipts. One night, Ethan stumbled into the apartment around 3 a.m. high out of his mind. I was pretending to sleep, but I heard him outside my door whispering. Bro, he slurred. I got big plans, man. Biggest plans. You'll see. We're gonna be rich. I held my breath as he shuffled away. Rich who? On whose back, Ethan? On whose trust? The final straw came 3 days later. I came home to find my bedroom door kicked in. Everything was trash. Drawers pulled out, mattress flipped, clothes slashed with scissors, and the worst part, my laptop was gone. Not just a laptop. It had all my work documents, photos, private stuff. Stuff I needed. I called Ethan immediately. He answered on the third ring, sounding out of breath. Hey bro, what's up? You in the apartment? Oh, nah man, out with some friends. Why? My room's trashed. My laptop's gone. Long pause. Whoa, seriously? That's messed up, dude. I could hear the fake concern dripping from his voice. You should call the cops, man. Definitely. Yeah, he wanted me to call the cops. Wanted me to make it official so it wouldn't look like an inside job. But I wasn't stupid. I didn't call the cops. Instead, I called an old friend, Marcus, who worked private security downtown. I told him everything. Marcus agreed to help. I'll do a sweep, he said. No promises. But if your boy's been flashing new tech around, I'll hear about it. Sure enough, 2 days later, Marcus sent me a photo, Ethan, at a pawn shop, selling a silver MacBook. Serial number matched mine. That was it. That was the evidence I needed, and I wasn't going to just evict him. I was going to bury him. After getting the photo from Marcus, I knew it was time to act. But not in some impulsive, sloppy way, no. Ethan deserved a proper fall. I spent a full night crafting a plan. First, I backed up all the footage from the hidden nanny cam to a secure cloud. The videos clearly showed Ethan accepting packages, dealing cash, trashing the apartment, the whole 9 yards. Second, I printed everything. Photos, time-stamped screenshots, copies of receipts from the pawn shop Marcus found. I even printed the old Venmo logs where Ethan accidentally charged me for stuff he bought for himself. Third, I found a landlord attorney online who offered a free consultation. I showed up with a full binder of evidence. The lawyer leafed through it, whistling under his breath. You, he said, have one hell of a case. He explained that under California law, I could not only evict Ethan for illegal activities and property damage, but I could also sue him for financial restitution. If I played this smart, Ethan would have an eviction and a judgment against him on his record. Good luck renting again after that. I grinned so hard it hurt. It was finally happening. I waited for the perfect moment. The next Friday, Ethan announced he was throwing the biggest party yet at our place. Great. More witnesses. I pretended to be cool about it. Yeah, man, sounds fun, I said, tossing him a fake smile. In reality, I spent that day securing all my valuables at a friend's apartment. Anything important, birth certificate, backup hard drives, cash gone. I left just enough behind to make it look like I still trusted him. That night, as the party ramped up, I lurked nearby in my car, watching through the window. Music thumped. Lights flashed. People stumbled in and out, drinking and yelling. At around 11 p.m., when the noise reached its peak, I made the call. Not to the cops, to the landlord. I told him about the illegal activity. I sent him copies of the footage, the pawn shop photo, everything. 5 minutes later, he called back, furious. Stay put, he barked. I'm coming over with the police. I just smiled and leaned back in my seat, listening to the muffled chaos from upstairs. When the cops rolled up, it was beautiful. They didn't come sirens blazing. They were quiet, professional. They entered the building while I watched, heart pounding. 5 minutes later, the music cut out. Shouting started. Then Ethan, shirtless, drunk and red-faced, was dragged out onto the lawn, handcuffed. His friends scattered like cockroaches. I got out of my car slowly, trying not to look too happy. The landlord spotted me. "You're good," he said. "You'll get a formal notice on Monday, but he's out." I nodded, thanking him 1,000 times. Ethan caught my eye as they shoved him into the cruiser. His face twisted in betrayal. "You set me up," he shouted. "No," I said quietly. "You set yourself up." And I meant it. The weekend after Ethan's arrest was the quietest my apartment had been in months. No stomping, no shouting, no broken doors or stolen packages. Just silence. On Monday morning, true to the landlord's word, I got an official notice. Ethan was formally evicted, effective immediately. I was offered a temporary reduction in rent if I stayed, basically as a thank you for cooperating. I accepted, obviously, but there was still one last thing to handle. The lawsuit. The attorney I consulted walked me through it step by step. We filed a claim for unpaid rent, property damage, theft, emotional distress minor, but still it wasn't a massive amount, about $5,000, but enough to make Ethan's life harder. He never even showed up to the court date. Automatic default judgment. Just like that, Ethan now officially owed me thousands of dollars. And thanks to California's laws, that judgment would follow him for years. He could run, but he couldn't hide from the debt. 3 weeks later, I bumped into Marcus again at the coffee shop near my place. "Dude," he grinned, sliding into the chair across from me. "You actually pulled it off." "I did," I said, sipping my coffee. "And the money?" I shrugged, not holding my breath. "I'll garnish his wages if I have to." Marcus laughed. "I heard he tried to move back in with his mom," he said, "but she kicked him out after 2 days. I almost felt sorry for Ethan. Almost. But then I remembered the months of gaslighting. The broken furniture. The feeling of being unsafe in my own home. No, he deserved this. Every second of it. Around a month later, I got a letter from a collections agency I'd hired. They'd tracked Ethan down in another city, working under the table at a sketchy car wash. They promised to keep at it, keep hounding him for payment, keep wrecking his credit. Part of me thought about letting it go. Moving on. Moving there. Just this. But another part of me, the part that spent too many nights staring at the ceiling in fear and anger, knew better. Some debts had to be paid. Some lessons had to hurt, especially for people like Ethan. Update 1. 1 year later, hey, everyone, just wanted to pop back in for a quick update since it's been about a year. A lot has happened. First off, Ethan never paid me a cent. No surprise there. The collections agency tried, but he kept job hopping, working under fake names, basically doing everything he could to avoid garnishment. Honestly, I gave up caring, because get this, about 6 months ago, I heard through Marcus that Ethan got arrested again. Apparently, he was caught trying to sell stolen catalytic converters. Real smart dude. This time though, it wasn't just a slap on the wrist. He actually got sentenced to time in county jail. Not a long stint, maybe a few months, but enough to ruin any shot he had at getting a decent job after. Meanwhile, life on my end, way better. I moved out of that apartment last summer and got a place of my own. No roommates, no random parties, no stolen packages. I also finally saved up enough to replace all the stuff Ethan broke or stole. New laptop, new desk, even bought myself a really nice couch as a victory gift. And mentally, it's night and day. No more walking on eggshells, no more stress headaches every time I heard footsteps in the hall. Just peace. Real peace. Sometimes I still get random Venmo notifications from Ethan like $0, 1 cent transfers with stupid messages like, "Sorry lol," or "You mad bro?" Yeah, very mature. But I just block them and move on, because in the end Ethan didn't ruin me. He didn't even come close. He just exposed who he really was and gave me the kick I needed to build a better life. And honestly, that's the best revenge of all. If you like this video, please subscribe for more.